When you think of people pleasing, you might think of someone who's like meek and mild and weak. It's not like that. The question is, how do you feel about people disapproving of you? And if the answer is you dislike it a lot, you are probably a high-level people pleaser.
We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what creates space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
Keeping the flu and common cold out of your household is important whether you're 5, 35, or 95, and we're going to tell you the easiest and most delicious way to do just that. It's with All Things Elderberry, a woman-owned business that has all-natural, vegan-friendly, and gluten-free elderberry products.
And when we say products, we mean a variety of delicious and beautiful products, not just for you, but for your entire household to get an immunity boost. If we had to pick our favorite product, I'm going with organic elderberry gummies. My kids are obsessed. We're trying to avoid sickness from school and make sure they can participate in their sports. So they take one every morning before they brush their teeth. They think the gummies taste like a mix of grape and cotton candy. I tried them too, and I can see why they ask for them every day. I love that they're boosting their immune system at the start of their day.
My favorite All Things Elderberry product is the elderberry green tea paired with the elderberry honey. The green tea gives me a midday boost, and the honey gives the tea extra sweetness. I also put the honey in my morning coffee instead of creamer. So good. All Things Elderberry is my solution for staying healthy before traveling, avoiding frequent colds and sinus infections, really just maintaining my health all year round.
What sets this brand apart from the others is there are no artificial additives in All Things Elderberry. Their elixir is made with organic, Missouri-grown elderberries, raw honey, and whole spices.
Elderberries not only help with immune support, but may also slow the aging process with their powerful antioxidants, improve skin health, and can shorten the duration of severity of colds and flu.
Visit allthingselderberry.com to explore their full range of immune-supporting products. Stay healthy and feel your best naturally. Use our code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order. That's code GOLDIVY at checkout for 15% off your first order.
We're coming at you with important information, warnings, and a solution. Sharing health and wellness gold with you is what we do. And so when we learned alarming information about devices that we routinely use, and we know you do too, we have to share it with you.
What most people don't realize is that the electronic devices we're using, cell phones, Wi-Fi, laptops, and Bluetooth, emit electromagnetic fields, or EMFs. The devices we're holding by our brains, on our skin, by our reproductive parts are emitting EMFs, and prolonged exposure to EMF radiation has been associated with potential health concerns, including neurological effects, impacts on reproductive health, and sleep disturbances.
Those studies alone are a cause for pause. But also, the International Agency for Research on Cancer that operates under the World Health Organization has classified non-ionizing EMFs produced by electronic products like cell phones, smart devices, and tablets a possible human carcinogen. Yikes.
And our solution? SafeSleeve. SafeSleeve anti-radiation products are designed to give you peace of mind of knowing you and your devices are protected while making your devices even easier to use. All of their anti-radiation products incorporate their lab-tested shielding technology that can block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation. And that's important because the vast majority of products that claim to block EMF radiation either don't have any testing at all, or they only block a small portion of the harmful frequencies.
We absolutely love the sleek look of these stylish products. They come in a variety of styles and colors. For our phone cases, I picked black, Andrea picked tan, and they include a built-in wallet with RFID protection and a magnetically detachable inner case. They're also anti-radiation products for tablets, iPad, and laptops.
We are pumped because we have been looking for a brand to help protect ourselves and our loved ones from this radiation for months. My kiddos have the iPad cases. Searching for a brand with stylish phone cases, colorful iPad colors, and functional headphones for our workouts, so that we can enjoy our devices, but also not have to worry about how they're harming us.
And without a doubt, it's time to protect ourselves. Grab your Safe Sleep phone case today and any of their other groundbreaking products at safesleepcases.com and use our code GOLDIVY for 15% off.
And now to this episode of the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Brooke and I could not be more pumped right now. The most powerful episode we've recorded, I believe, to date is episode 86 with the one and only Terri Cole. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed.
Woo woo. Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited.
Oh, man. She's back with a new book this book, years of therapy, of personal development, everything that I have found healing is put into the pages of this book and so beautifully written. And I just want to call out, sometimes personal development feels like work and it feels hard. And in this book, as I'm reading it, I felt so cared for and held and like I want to take care of myself. So first of all, thank you for that, Terri.
And the name of the book, let's talk about it, is called Too Much, A Guide to Breaking the Cycle of High Functioning Codependency. Her first book was Boundary Boss, and it looks very similar. And it was written in a way that I think I said the same thing, was I felt cared for, but also direct information that is life-changing. So, Terri, we're going to get into all things codependency because it's a misunderstood word. Definitely, we had a different definition in our minds before Terri, and we are so excited to have you here to talk all about codependency and high-functioning codependency. So let's get into it. Tell the people, what is it?
Okay. Well, let's first start with the why, right? People all know codependency existed long before Terri Cole existed. So why did I coin a new phrase around codependency? In my therapy practice, I have women very much like me, super highly capable, very much like you guys, right? Getting it done, doing all the things for all the people. And so if I would point out that in their relationship, there was a codependent, I'd be like, hey, that's a codependent relational pattern. They would immediately reject the notion. Immediately, they'd be like, wrong, not me. I'm not dependent on squat, lady. I'm making all the money. I'm making all the moves. Like, I'm not a codependent, I could tell you right now. Which made me realize that my clients didn't know what codependency was, what it actually was. And the irony with high-functioning codependency is that the more capable you are, the less codependency looks like codependency, but it is still codependency. So I just started getting into it because I saw this over and over again. And obviously the dilemma for me was, how could I help my clients get out of these codependent patterns if they didn't see themselves in the definition of the problem? So I needed to shift something so they could. And as soon as I added high functioning to the word codependency, all of them could raise their hands without shame. Me, I'm the problem, it's me, not to quote Taylor, but I will, where they felt like it was okay they're like, you're right. I am exhausted. I am burnt out. I am doing too much for all the people all the time. So that was the beginning of why. So if we were to define it, which I will, it is basically you, I want to say you and you, being overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the situations, the circumstances, the finances, the careers of the people in your life to the detriment of your own internal peace or your own mental or emotional well-being, or maybe your own fiscal well-being. Maybe you're lending someone money or you're letting someone live with you who's not paying or whatever. So the difference is, it's not you being concerned about your friend. It's you, like the moment your friend calls you and is in a crisis, how quickly does her crisis literally become yours? Like instantaneously for most HFCs. We're like, okay, I'm Googling this. I know the best oncologist is Sloan. I have this. I'm going through my virtual Rolodex. Like we're so into problem solving that we are inadvertently trampling on all the boundaries, which is kind of interesting because in the first book, Boundary Boss, I wrote a lot about how we can get other people to respect our boundaries. And in this book on high functioning codependency, kind of the HFCs are the boundary tramplers, again, inadvertently though. So do you want to talk a little bit about what are the behaviors of HFC? Like, where do you want to go?
Yeah, well, as you're speaking and as I was reading the book, this idea of too much, like that's how I identified, okay, I got a little HFC in me too. The resentment, the feeling like, why does everything just feel like too much? And there isn't that enjoyment. And as you're sharing the stories in the book, it's like, this woman's burnt out. This woman's burnt out. This woman doesn't even know what she wants. And I think a lot of women listening, that's like, ding, ding, ding. Okay, yes. So I do think we should, yes, like you said, get into the behavior so people can identify themselves a little more as maybe they are a high functioning one.
So what does it look like on a day-to-day basis to be a high functioning codependent? It means you feel responsible to fix other people's problems. You are auto advice giving all the time. You can't stop with your string of good advice for people. And the thing is, you have good advice. So it's not like the problem is when we're so capable, we actually are problem solving. But the question is, whose side of the street are we on? Should we be solving that problem? You might feel exhausted, resentful, a little bit bitter. You might feel underappreciated in your relationships if you are overfunctioning. You might be, besides the auto advice giving, you might be auto accommodating, which is basically out in public where it could be anywhere. It could be in a group, right? Everyone wants to meet somewhere that's completely inconvenient for you, but you just go, it's fine, no big deal. No, you know me, no fuss, no muss. I'm easy breezy. And part of that is why? To avoid conflict, right? But we don't want there to be a problem. We're like, if you're an HFC, one of the behaviors is that you're kind of always willing to take one for the team. You're like, it's not a big deal. It's fine. I can do it. I'll do it. Right? These are the mantras of HFCs. It has to be me and I got it are like the two biggest ones and we're not doing it to be a martyr. But here's the thing. We eventually end up feeling pissed off when you're doing a lot more than other people are doing. Two other behaviors. Anticipatory planning, where if you're going to be with someone who's a little bit difficult, a little bit demanding, you just make sure you have everything. You have all the things they like to eat, all the things they like to drink. Oh, they're not, Uncle Bobby and Uncle Jimmy don't get along. I'll make sure they don't see each other all night. It's like we're puppet mastering rather than just expecting fucking grown-ups to be grown-ups. And if you two idiots can't get along, then don't come to my house for Christmas. But I would never have done that. And when who I'm talking about is me. This is me back in the day having, people who don't get along with each other. And instead of me being like, get it together, you weirdos, me making sure they never saw each other at the event, And then you have the over and under functioning dynamic where I say this a little tongue in cheek, but it's true that in my 20s, I could take a perfectly capable boyfriend and turn him into an underfunctioner in 2 weeks or less. Because I was all like, yeah, I already thought about that. Got it, made the plans, made the reservations, did all the things, And the guy's like, okay, I guess she's doing everything. And then, what do you end up feeling? Taken advantage of. You're like, how entitled is he? And then the real question is that person entitled? Or in my case, I just taught him how to interact with me. I just taught him that this was how it was. In a lot of my relationships, I initiated the overfunctioning. And I felt like I really sort of turned someone into, and then you have other dynamics of over and under functioning where you might have someone who uses that. They know you want it done a certain way, so they'll do something shitty so that you never ask them to do it again because you end up redoing it. So there's like a learned helplessness or feigned incompetence, which I talk about all of this in the book, where they'll sort of act like, but you do it so much better, and that's just you doing all the things. And at the core of all of this is self-abandonment, right? If you're doing all the things for other people and your top priority is making sure everyone else has what they need, well, then you yourself cannot be your own top priority because there's only one spot there,
Yes. Oh, there's so much to unpack here. I love that you gave so many examples too. And in your book, like Brooke said, there's a story for each of these behaviors so you can really see yourself or somebody else in it. So whether it applies to you or someone you can kind of see how this could play out and then what the consequences will be. And I keep thinking about so much of this is about control. You're controlling the
Yes.
environment. You're controlling the responses. You're controlling the narrative. You're controlling the outcome in so many ways. And it's a mechanism, right? From something we learned from our past. But for me, I'm an auto advice giver, full transparency. I can own it. I know it's something I got to work on. And I'm parenting 3 kids. Like, I need to ask more questions and I need to be listening more. And there's a sentence in this book. Actually, it's a question. And I was like, huh! It like hit me so hard. On page 37, you said, what makes you think that you know what lessons your sister needs to learn in this lifetime? And I had to pause, and it's like, it's kind of like when Shefali was on too. She was like, what makes you think you are this person that knows all, or that you're not going to mess up, right? It's so important to think about letting people learn their lessons and letting their life unfold in a way that they learn it on their own terms. And so I would love for you to talk about that and what you meant with that question and kind of what you've seen as a result when people do allow people to have their own journey.
Well, that was a situation with one of my sisters where she was in an abusive situation, living in a house in the woods without running water, without electricity. It was like insane. It was like winter in upstate New York and she had no running water. Like what? So that's like an HFC 5 fire emergency, like, the entire time. So I had been trying to get her out, sending money, doing all the things. And finally, my therapist confronted me with that question. And I can tell you, I understand, Angela, your response to it, because I had the exact same response when she just said, what makes you think you know what your sister needs to learn and how she needs to learn it in this lifetime? And it just struck me like, I don't know. But I said, but what are my choices? Because I didn't understand. My sister was in an abusive situation. I thought my only choice was to just keep trying to get her out till I got her out, right? And she basically said, you need boundaries, Terri. Your sister's a grown-up, right? She will handle this situation when she's ready, but you don't understand the concept of boundaries. And I was like, you are correct. I really don't. This was in my 20s. And I was like, well, what can I do? And so anyway, she helped me. She walked me through the process. I set a boundary with my sister. I love you, and I cannot talk to you about this guy. It is so distressing to me. But if you ever want to get out, I'm always your person. So anytime, call me. And less than 9 months later, she called and she was like, are you still my person? I was like, hello, yes, I'm getting in my car. And the PS, the most important part of that story is that I could have beat her into submission and quote unquote made her leave, But then her baby sister is the hero of her life story. By me tolerating how it made me feel, right? It's her life. My job is not to control her life. My job is to deal with how I'm feeling about her dumpster fire of a life. That was my job. And if I hadn't done that and I had ripped her out of there, then all the humiliation that goes along with having your youngest sister save you yet again, she wouldn't have gotten what she got, which is that she left when she was ready. She got all of this self-esteem that comes from saving yourself. And so she got, and then my husband and I were able to help her in an appropriate way, right? We had a little lake house in upstate New York that we winterized and let her stay there for 2 years for free. Like, we did things that we could do that and asked her, would this be helpful? And she was like, that would be amazing. Thank you. And then she went back to school. She got sober. She did all of those things on her own. And so I think that it isn't even about letting them, and it's funny, the Mel Robbins, I put this note of the let them theory in here, but my take on it is different. And it's like, it's an illusion, right? It soothes the HFC soul to think we are letting them handle their own stuff. But it's an illusion of control, just like all of the control. The only thing we have control over is ourselves, right? I mean, that's the reality. So I've laughed at the let them sort of, but I do understand that just the notion of putting it down. I do a lot of visualizations around when I want to manipulate and control other people. I do a lot of visualizations of putting it in a box, putting that box in the top of the closet. Like, it's not necessary and it's not my side of the street. And so that is something that we can learn And even with children, Angie, you brought up the like with kids asking more questions and sort of being less directive or less controlling, or I don't know, is that what you were talking
Yeah.
about?
Yep.
Yeah. That with kids, there are these, instead of the auto advice giving, let's say you guys listening, if you feel like, wow, I do that all the time, because I was the worst offender. Keep in mind, I'm never judging anyone, you guys, because you teach what you most need to learn. And I'm always the worst offender, so much so that I had to write a whole freaking book about it. You know what I mean? So hopefully it comes off in the book that there is no judgment, because
Absolutely.
this is the human condition, right? So anyway, with kids, let's say you have a kid who comes home from school and says, Mom, I had a worst day ever. I had a fight with Bobby. Some mothers would say, we don't fight in this family. Or you're going to go in tomorrow and apologize to Bobby, or whatever, not even hearing what the kid has to say. Before anything, with kids, with grown-ups, with siblings, with anybody, we've just got to ask, all right, well, tell me what happened. And then the next phrase is, okay, so tell me what you think you should do. And then stop talking. And because here's the thing, this is how we become intimate with the people in our lives, even with children. Because let's say that your kid says, I think I should go in tomorrow and punch Bobby in the face. Let's just say he says that. We're not going to agree that that's what he should do. We will help him see the error of that thought process. But if you don't ever ask, you don't really know what your kids are thinking. Like, we're endlessly dominating them with what we think. And our job as parents is actually to teach them critical thinking, deductive reasoning, consequences for actions. And you only do that if you know any of the content in their little brains. So this is for big kids and for little kids and for friends too. Even when friends come to me for advice, now that I'm in recovery, because that's all we can hope for, you guys. There's no curing this shit. Trust me, there's not. But we can get into recovery. It's just like, I don't drink alcohol because I'm in recovery. Like, I'm a recovering alcoholic and have been for decades. Now, do I wish this tea was wine? I don't know, sometimes. The difference is I just don't pour wine into that cup anymore, right? I only pour tea into that cup. When you walk through the way that I walk you through it in this book, what you find is that you may still have the desire to tell people what to do, or you may still have the desire to sort of puppet master relationships or whatever it is. But once you understand more deeply the difference between being codependent and being caring, you will have a deeper ability to make a different choice, right? You can still have the thought. I still have the thought. I just don't do it. Right? Drinking, I still have the thought. I just don't do it. That's what recovery is. There's nothing magical about it. It's an everyday discipline. And this is the same thing.
Yeah. You give the example in your book of meditation and how it allows for that gap in your thought and the action. So as you say that with drinking alcohol, you can have those thoughts, but don't act on them. And that's in recovery. Can you talk a little bit more about, when you're in recovery? So part 2 of your book is all about being in recovery and feeling, allowing, and doing just enough. So what self-regulation tips or advice do you have to be okay with doing just enough?
Well, you have to change your mind, and you have to want to be in recovery, because you have to understand the cost. So before we get into the nervous system stuff, which we definitely will, because that's really what we're talking about, how do we have enough emotional self-regulation that we are not constantly being thrown into fight, flight, freeze, fawn? And that so much of that has to do with soothing your central nervous system, being aware of what are the things that are activating to you. And I walk you through all that in the book, but we'll certainly talk about it. But I think we need the motivation.
Who wants to know what I discovered that's an absolute game changer with my hormones, stress level, and quality of my sleep? I am not one to talk about supplements, but after learning all about magnesium, I have to fill you in. In May of last year, I tested my hormones, and my doctor explained to me that most women are deficient in magnesium, how important magnesium is, and how the brand of magnesium matters. First, magnesium is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions in your body. Cortisol regulation, take magnesium. Better sleep, magnesium. Muscle soreness and recovery, magnesium. Combat depression and anxiety, magnesium. The list of magnesium's benefits go well beyond those examples. I asked for the best brand of magnesium and my doctor said hands down, Smidge. She prefers Smidge because it's super clean and made in small batches. No fillers or common allergens and non-GMO. Smidge's magnesium is made with a premium form of magnesium called glycinate complex. After taking the 100 milligram capsule of Smidge Evening Magnesium every night for just a week, I noticed how much better I felt in the morning. Melatonin and other sleep aids can make me groggy or give me weird dreams. Smidge's magnesium has improved my energy levels, reduced my anxiety, and my digestive health has never been better. I do my best to take it every single night to keep reaping all the benefits. I'm telling you, Smidge Magnesium is a game changer. The majority of adult women are deficient in magnesium, and we don't want you to be one of them. To experience the health benefits of Smidge Evening Magnesium as soon as possible, go to getsmidge.com or find the link in the show notes and be sure to use code GOLDIV10 for a 10% discount. That's getsmidge.com and code GOLDIV10 at checkout and let us know how great Smidge Magnesium makes you feel as well.
Hey everyone, Brooke here. One of my biggest goals for 2025 is to improve my energy, and I know I'm not alone in that. I also know I'm not alone in what I'm about to say next. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I look forward to is my morning cup of coffee. What I don't look forward to is how much I rely on it to get me through the day and the stomach upset and crashes that come with it. I know it's hard on my hormones, energy, and stress levels, but man, is it a hard habit to break. Can anyone else relate? I want quick and easy, and I want energy. Saying goodbye completely to caffeine is out of the question for me, but trying it in a new way, that I'm open to. So let me tell you about my new obsession, Everyday Dose. Would you believe me if I told you my new morning cup of energy includes the following, and all in one simple scoop? We've got L-theanine, an amino acid that works to increase focus, balance insulin levels, metabolism, and lower stress and cortisol. We've got low acidity coffee extract, finally coffee that doesn't give me a stomach ache. Collagen protein to improve my gut health, skin, and nails. Chaga, a type of mushroom that supports immune system. And my favorite, lion's mane, a natural nootropic that helps reduce brain fog and boost my mood. In addition to it being the easiest and most effective morning routine, it's free of artificial sweeteners, additives, mycotoxins, and mold. I feel at ease knowing what's going in my body, all while feeling energized, calm, and focused all day. Check out their coffee starter kit. It comes with free gifts every month like a frother, gunmetal spoon, breathwork app, and more. Join Andrew and myself as we start our year and all 365 days with Everyday Dose. Visit everydaydose.com/goldivy and get your coffee starter kit delivered straight to your door. Use our code GOLDIVY to get up to 30% off your first order.
For me, when I understood from my therapist that I was allowed to draw a boundary with my sister and that it was actually the most loving thing to do was to respect her sovereignty and her right to succeed or fail, to thrive or flail. And the problem with HFCs is we don't want anybody flailing in our vicinity. Like, we do not like flailing at all. And we just got to get used to being uncomfortable. But the cost to our relationships are profound. I mean, when you're controlling everything, you are not relating to people in a heart-centered way. People are like little chess pieces on a chessboard, and we're just trying to manipulate. And I see myself still having the desire to do it at times, like control relationships between my children and my husband, control, like, be like, oh, and then they said, like, triangulation, like all of these things that I know is unhealthy. I feel the desire to do it because I want them to be closer, or I want them to talk in the way that I talk to the kids, or whatever my motive is. But then I step back and go, listen, you've got to let the chips fall where they may when they're not your mother effing chips, as I like to say. And when you're an HFC, you think all the chips are your chips, but they're not. And so that's something that I feel like we need to learn. So cost of our relationship, cost to your health, being burnt out.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah, just exhausted.
Well, I was thinking too, sorry to interrupt, Terri, but when you had a list of like health outcomes that can come from this. And I was thinking about, I want to hear from you about this, because what we notice we have a lot of women on and women followers. A lot of them have autoimmune issues. A lot of them have anxiety. Yep. And you kind of hinted at that in the book. And I would love for you to talk about the themes of the physical ailments people have when they don't get into recovery from this, when they keep getting that helper's high. I'm curious what your clientele has ran into for some health outcomes.
So very many. Everything from huge things like massive cancer, like that, a lot of autoimmune disorders, a lot of TMJ, a lot of insomnia, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, MS, like which really is an autoimmune, it's an extension of an autoimmune. There's so much, but the burnout is real. I feel like people talk about burnout like it's become popular sort of on the interwebs to talk about it. But to experience it, like cognitive exhaustion is real. Decision fatigue is real. These are things that when we are doing so much, you can do it for a long time, especially when you're younger. And then perimenopause comes knocking, and then menopause. And this is, I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, can I curse on here or should I not?
Yes, fuck yeah. Sorry.
That people just run out of fucks. When you get to perimenopause, you're like, and I do not care. I don't. And there's an actual physiological reason. You start having less estrogen in your body. And that's sort of like the tend and befriend hormone. So there's a part of us that's like the bullshit that you put up with for so long, where you're like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. They didn't mean it like that. You get into menopause and you're like, you know what? Fuck them. Moving on. Like, I don't need it. I don't need this shit. So it is, before we get to that point, my feeling is we can start to really curb back on our behaviors, the ones that cause us stress, the ones that cause us anxiety. Another cost to us, besides becoming bitter, like a bitter martyr, because trust me when I tell you that no bitter martyr who's in their 60s or 70s now was in their 30s was like, can't wait to grow up and become a martyr. Like, that's not how it is, And yet, we all know them. We all know the person who's guilting the shit out of their family members. We all know the one who's like, I don't know, I mean, for everything I've done for them, You're like, well, then you did all that shit for the wrong reason. So, but you don't want that to be your future because it's not very satisfying. And you not being fully self-expressed. Because when we're HFCs and we're actively being that way, we may be controlling things, but we're not making ourselves vulnerable in our relationships. We're not being vulnerable. We're not talking about what we need. We're masterful at keeping the ship running, the ship of our family life, the ship of our career. Like, that's what we're masterful at. And a lot of times, we're taking one for the team. We're saying yes when we really want to say no. We're doing things outside of our comfort zone because someone else asked us to. And when you do that, what you're really doing is giving corrupted data to the people in your life about who you are, right? If we go back to the boundaries conversation we had the last time I was here, right? Your preferences, desires, limits, and deal breakers. They're not just the things that make up your boundaries. They're also the things that make you, right? And you, Brooke and Andrea, uniquely yourselves. Just like my preferences, desires, limits, and deal breakers make me uniquely me. So when we don't tell people what those things are, because we're just too busy on to the next and on to the next, or we don't want to be a pain, or we don't want to seem dramatic, or we don't want to be needy. The real thing is, another one of the qualities of HFC is being hyper independent. Anybody?
Yep.
I'm like, ooh, reading this, I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Yep.
And what happens there? So what we're trying to do, what the book will help you do, is go from this state of hyperindependence into more interdependence in your relationships, which requires what, right? How can we move into a different way of being in the world? Well, we'll do it slowly, but surely. You're already doing it. Just listening to this amazing podcast right now, you're doing it because you're raising your awareness of how you're being in your relationships, and hopefully you're being honest with yourself. What else do we need to do? We need to have better boundaries. We need to respect other people's boundaries. You know what? Someone can say no to you. How well do you take it I want to do something for them. I want to take them out to dinner. I want to whatever. And the person's like, I'm really beat. I don't want to do it. And how often are you like, I mean, I don't get it. I was just doing it to be nice. Like, or they don't even understand. They're not even grateful. No, maybe they're just tired. But I think a lot of times, because I was the worst when I was a full-blown HFC, where I'd be so mad, like, who's saying no to me? And part of it is because my boundaries were so disordered that anyone with good boundaries, I was like, what a bitch. Ah, she's so cold. What a nice princess. And of course, then I got healthy and I was like, oh, respect. So much respect for the people. And people with good boundaries are also emotionally trustworthy, right? Because that's the friend that when they say no, you know they mean it. And when they say yes, you know they mean it. Because if I can't trust your no, I also can't trust your yes, right? If you're saying yes when you want to say no, I can't trust either one of those things.
And you can feel
All right,
it
so we
too.
have-
You can like feel when someone says yes and you know they're hesitating. You're like, oh, did they mean it? You know?
Yeah, and then we want to overfunction and be like, but it's okay. You can let me know on Friday. Like, now I do not do that shit anymore at all. I don't care. You want to say yes and you don't mean it? That shit is your side of the street. That is not mine.
Yeah.
I will not, and I know my friends who are the people pleasers. Trust me when I tell you, I do not count on them. They are not in my VIP section of my life because if you're a people pleaser, you are emotionally untrustworthy. The end. Period.
Ooh.
You are.
Can I ask you a
Because
question about that?
Sure.
When I think about people pleasing and I think about HFCs, I kind of feel like I relate to both. So will you just quick call out the difference?
Here's the thing. As HFCs, again, remember, the higher functioning you are, the less codependency looks like codependency, right? The more capable you are. That's like the irony of this affliction that we have is that nobody looks at us. Nobody's calling. Nobody's like, hey, well, I hope Brooke's okay. Maybe I should call her. Is anyone worrying about you? Is anyone worrying about you?
Andrea?
Literally nobody.
No, yeah. We check on
Maybe
each other, but
other.
usually
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
yeah, they never ask me how I'm doing. Yeah.
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Because they know you're always fine. And this is part of the problem of being high functioning. Anyway, let's go back to the people pleasing. As HFCs, we're like high level people pleasers because we're not, there's a strength because there's a lot, for a lot of us, there's an assertiveness to the way we do our over functioning and over giving and over helping, right? That we know we're like, I got a plan. Step one, let's go, right? Like we've kind of got it. So again, when you think of people pleasing, you might think of someone who's like meek and mild and weak. It's not like that. The question is, how do you feel about people disapproving of you? And if the answer is you dislike it a lot, you are probably a high level people pleaser. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I got an add-on question with that. You know, with people pleasing and with high function codependency, a big part of this is getting validation from people like, oh, they help me so much. And oh, thank you. And you do it all. Look at you. You're always, how do you fit it all in? Right. And it feels good. It's like, it just gets that you get that validation that you're seeking, whether it's from, you know, you learned it as a child or however. And so how do we get this validation, or what's the healing piece of this? That's like, you know what, like quit reaching for that outside validation. It's not fulfilling anyway, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have to look at it like, so the gold star, because it's socially sanctioned behavior that people think is fucking great and that you're amazing. You have to really look at what is it actually giving you? It's putting you back on that treadmill of just the endless doing, rather than being. And I think that what you'll find is that when you actually take some time to get to know yourself more, to prioritize how you feel, in the book, I call it self-consideration, right? Because it's not the same as like self-love or like self-care, go get a mani-pedi. I feel like these things have been sort of watered down in this public domain. And I don't think that they really are what I meant to say. When I changed it to self-consideration, I'm like, yes, that's what it is, because self-consideration is this big umbrella. And two questions that you guys can put in your back pocket right now. I want neither one of you or anybody listening to commit to anything in 2025 without asking yourself, do I have the bandwidth to do this without becoming resentful? Number two, Do I even friggin' want to do it?
Wow. In the back pocket. 1, 2. Thank you.
Yeah. Because we don't. We don't. When someone else's reality, as HFC is a lot of times, other people's realities and perceptions can supersede our own. So if someone is like, no, I really want to do this girls trip with you. I really let's do it. It's going to be amazing. But like inside, you're like, dude, I super do not want to do that. But if somebody really wants to do it, it's like why in Boundary Boss, I talked about the fact that I was a bridesmaid 8 times in my 20s because I couldn't tell the truth about how I really felt in those relationships. Those people, I mean, I should have said no to half of those ugly dress experiences for sure. Because I was like, dude, I wouldn't even invite you to a housewarming party if I had a house. Like, how am I the closest? You think I should be your maid of honor? Oh my God. And then I was like, well, I should be honored. Like, what's wrong with you? You're not a nice person. Like, all of this crap. There was no self-consideration for me going on then. If I had any self-consideration, I would say, hey, I don't have the bandwidth to do it. Congratulations. I'm happy to attend the wedding, but I really would only want to do it if I could be fully present. And with the schooling that I'm in right now, whatever, you just tell the truth. I don't want to do it. You don't have to say, I don't feel close enough to you to do it. You can basically say, I don't have the bandwidth to do it properly or whatever. I didn't have the capacity to do that then. So as HFCs, we have to start bringing more self-consideration into our lives where we really go, how will that affect me? Right? Saying yes to this thing. How will that affect me? So we have to fully get rid of the auto yes, like no more just saying yes to appease people, just no. So just get used to being like, hey, I'll get back to you on that. I say to people's face, I don't know if I want to do it. I want to think about it. However we deliver, trust me when I tell you, however you deliver what you're saying is how it will be received. So when I was insecure and much younger and I delivered it like, oh, I hope you're not mad, but I don't, then the person would be mad. And now I just go, I don't know if I want to do it because I'm so positive that I have a right to simply, that not wanting to do something is fucking legit. I don't even need to write a goddamn dissertation as to why I don't want to do it. Maybe I just don't fucking.
Yeah, I love in the book, though, how you like give this language, because I honestly think we need to hear it. We don't hear it enough. We don't have enough bold women like you that have taught us how to say something kindly but firmly with those boundaries that are really serving both parties. Like, you don't want someone in your bridal party that doesn't give a shit about you. Like, you want someone in your bridal party that loves you and that can really show up, like you said. And so in this book, you have laid out steps, verbiage, affirmations, caring words that like Brooke said, make you feel held while you're doing this. Just the way you wrote it is like literally step by step of how to do this work, but also like care for yourself along the way, because it is work and it is changing and it's uncomfortable. So I just want to thank you too for like putting words on this in a way that we can kind of stand up for ourselves and then also give the other person a better experience too.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. There's all kinds of scripts in the book because sometimes you might need a little more heat, but you can always do this with kindness if you so choose. You can always do it with love if that's appropriate. I think that there's a fear when you don't have the words, where you feel like you have to be, it's going to come off as being like bitchy or caustic or aggressive, but it really doesn't have to be. Like, there really is a way for you to just sort of ease into it just by simply stopping saying immediately yes to things. You're already teaching people to treat you differently. You're already basically letting them know something has changed, right? And because for people who are auto yesers, usually, they just feel compelled, and I get this on the interwebs. People will say to me about high functioning codependency, like, Terri, maybe I'm just really nice. You ever think about that? I just love to be of service to others, and I'm just a natural helper. And I say, I have no doubt that you're really nice. I'm really nice too. It's not about that. Because if it is a compulsion, meaning there's no space between the interaction, like it happens and you react rather than respond, then I promise you it's not you being nice. It is a compulsion to control something that's making you uncomfortable. And so the lives that we build on this type of disordered behavior are not authentic, even when we want to be, because we are not being true to ourselves. So, one of the things that I think is helpful to do, which I had to do in this situation with my sister, is we have to surrender to what is, right? Surrender. I had an experience in last July where I had an abnormal mammogram, and I have a lot of breast cancer in my family. So I had to get a biopsy, and it was over like 4th of July. So I had to wait 8 days to get the results. And I was thinking about how there was this, instead of reacting, like how I had to work so hard to control my mind, right? I didn't talk to a lot of people, but in the past, I would have told a lot, like I would have handled it totally differently. And what I realized in that period of time is that the power of my intention, the power of your intention, is so strong. If you want to do this thing called life, this relational thing, because that's what we're talking about. Your HFC blueprint, which I walk you through in the book, that is your relational blueprint, which is basically how you learned to relate to other people and to the external world, not just other people, right? Be a good girl, be nice, all of those things, right? Be helpful is something that so much of us heard in childhood, especially as girls. And so we grow up to be these hyper helpers. But again, if you're doing it at the expense of self, and if you're doing it as a reaction to uncomfortable feelings in you, it's really not you being nice. And so I feel like we just have to just move away from that. Mm-hmm. And some people will then say, I'm a natural giver. I love it. I do everything for everyone, and I'm not unhappy. I'm like, great. Then this book's not for you. Go you. I wonder how the people in your life feel about you inserting yourself into the middle of everything and meddling in everything that they do. You may love it, but if you actually get honest with people, they may not, right? They may not. So I do think that's something to consider, is how does this impact our relationships? And we have to be able to disappoint people, you guys. And who loves to disappoint people? Nobody.
No one.
No.
That's why, one of my biggest takeaways from the book was being okay with being uncomfortable, but then the tools to self-regulate and that self-consideration. Okay, can it be as simple as slowing down, being okay with the pause, not saying yes right away? Like that is so my downfall of, yep, okay, get it off my plate, just say yes. And then an hour later, I'm like, shit, why didn't I just pause? So the pause and the honesty, being honest with yourself and those around you, that's the way to be authentic.
Yeah. And I like what you just said, Terri, too. I think sometimes when we hear these things, like you said, you can gloss over like, oh no, I like helping. But in the book, it's almost like you have to be willing to see yourself. Like you just think helping is good and everybody likes it, but you're taking away opportunities for the dad to parent or to step up or, fill in the blank on whatever it is.
Yep.
And I thought of it like almost this, okay, I've been wearing this big stain on my shirt that I couldn't see because it was like down here, but everybody else can see the stain and they've been seeing it. And it's not really hurting anybody that much for me to have this stain because like I am helping or whatever. But it's embarrassing when you realize you've been having this stain that you didn't realize was there, and it might be helping or it might be, for me, auto advice giving, or you said in the book too, like people might feel actually uncomfortable around you knowing you're going to get into their business. So they might not even call you as much because they don't want your advice. They don't want to hear it.
The way that it happened for me, this realization that you're talking about, is I had to reckon with the truth that I was inserting myself as the solution to everyone's problem. So therefore, I was centering myself in their situation. And the real flex when it comes to love, if we really, really think about it, it's not about People do not like to feel like projects. Trust me. Nobody wants to feel like a problem that you fixed. Amazing. Like nobody likes that. So what is the real flex when it comes to love? It's certainly not fixing other people's problems because you can't even do that. It's being with someone in the foxhole during the dark night of their soul and compassionately witnessing them. And instead of telling them what to do, being able to say, how can I best support you right now? This sucks, but I'm here. We can talk, we can not talk, but I'm here. I'm witnessing you with so much compassion. I love you, whatever it is. But that's not the same as telling them what to do. That is asking them, do you want to talk about it? And then letting them talk with no advice giving. Imagine if you could just put that automatic reaction down and really see the people in your life and really love them, even the messy bits. Because as HFCs, we don't love the messy bits, but we have to, if we love them, we have to love the messy bits. And we have to let them see ours too. And not everybody, but at least your close relationships if you actually want deepened intimacy, you know?
I cannot wait for everyone to read this book. Like, I just keep thinking, what a gift. After Boundary Boss, we thought the same thing. And I just didn't know it was possible for you to get better and better every time we interact with you. So seriously, such a gift. I'm curious, your 3 gold stars, if there were 3 top takeaways to leave our listeners with, what would they be?
Well, first, I do have a gift for you guys, which is an HFC toolkit. Because I know we covered a lot today. So I just made something up that would be sort of easy for people to just download. So you just go to terricole.com /HFC. And it's like, there's like simplify and do less. There's a whole lesson, self-love meditation, the power of no meditation, a bunch of things in there for you. Okay. 3 takeaways. 1, you can do it. So just start there. Like you can actually create more interdependence. I promise you that getting into recovery from being a high functioning codependent is possible. And there is so much joy and expansion and excitement and energy on the other side because this shit gets old quick. What you're doing, checking boxes for a living is fucking exhausting and you deserve so much more. Number 1. Perfectionism is not all it's cracked up to be. So let's just bless the mess. I find that high functioning codependents have these super, super high standards. And I just feel like it can really take the joy out of life. So just be mindful. Sometimes it's not important to clean the kitchen while you have guests still there. It's more important to be with the people in your life. And the 3rd takeaway, hold on, what do I want to say? Oh, self-consideration. I really want you to, every single day, do something that you think would fall under the category of self-consideration. I want you to do things just because they're fun, not because they're fun and productive, right? I'm so over you multitasking, you HFCs. I want you to stop it immediately because according to a Harvard study, you're literally not multitasking. You're just doing everything 30% worse. So this is your task. Is every day you're going to do something that falls into the category of self-consideration. And it could be just saying something to the person you work with who keeps eating your food. It could be just not taking on the work for that other person on your team who always slacks. And you're like, just letting the chips fall where they may when they're not your mother effing chips.
God, I love it. Eat your own chips.
Brooke and I were talking before this. We're like, this is the therapist that we wish we had. Or like, just the figure in your life that really, you just package these deep, meaningful things in such a way that's tangible and that we can bring into our lives. I'm just so grateful. Next is Unleashing Ivy, just 3 surprise questions, what we're curious about. And I love your relationship with Vic. And how many years have you been married?
We've been together 27, married 25.
Wow. I love it. And it's just cool how that's like a piece of something that you share. And I love it. I love people's love stories. But I'm curious about you as this entrepreneur who is doing a lot, who's writing all of these books and appearing on TV shows and podcasts and all of the things, how you keep your marriage centered and full of zest and vibrant in the midst of all that you have going on.
So interesting. You should ask that. I just came back from a retreat with Esther Perel and Paul Brody on erotic
Oh
intelligence.
my gosh.
And I know, trust me, with my repressed waspy upbringing, please, I was dead. I didn't even know that's what it was about. I just went because Esther's a friend. And then I saw what it was about. I was like, oh no.
Amazing.
Literally, I was dying. But what it was really about, and this, I'll get back to your question quick, but it's about how the questions that Esther put to us, and I'll put it to you guys, is what do I do in my life to turn myself on? Right? Like, what do I do that lights me up? I jump on a trampoline. I'm out in nature all the time. I spend time with my dog. I spend time with Vic. I don't get on the internet until 11 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't do any work until after 11. There's a bunch of things. What do I do in my life to turn myself off? Stay up too late at night, watch too many violent TV shows, or, like serial killer shit, whatever. These are really valuable questions to ask yourself because being erotic intelligence is really just about life intelligence. Like, how do we keep life force flowing and how do you keep in the space between you when you're in a long-term marriage? Oh my God, Esther is so brilliant. She said something so great. She said, whatever was going to happen between you spontaneously in a long-term relationship has already happened. Meaning, you need to be proactive. You've got to plan. You've got to bring in erotica. You need to like do things together that keep the physical life alive. I mean, because really, sex is the thing that sets apart any relationship from your friendships, is basically you being sensual and sexual with this person and sharing a life. So one thing that we do is we both stay in shape, right? Because if you get unhealthy, it really impacts your relationship. It impacts the other person. So we made a commitment before we got married. That was one of my stipulations. I was like, you're already 10 years older than me. So you're already going to die before me. So you can't get fat, drink too much, be unhealthy. You can't. And that's your responsibility, not mine. Annual physicals. And he does it. He does all the things. You have to take care of your teeth. You have to take care of your body. And that's on you because I do me and you got to do you. So that's one thing. Another thing we do is we have a lot of spontaneous adventures because shared experiences, shared new experiences, create a vitality in a relationship. Like we're constantly making new sort of mini memories where on Sundays we'll just get in the truck and he'll be like, want to take an adventure? I'm like, sure. We get in the truck and we just drive to a town we've never been to and eat at a cafe that's open or a diner or a mom and pop joint. Sometimes the food is terrible. Who the hell cares? Because it's not about the food, right? We talk to the locals. Or we go to a place we've never been. We sit at the bar. We talk to the bartender. But what we're doing is we are interacting in life. Instead of sitting home, we also don't have our phones. We come into the house and I turn my phone off. Like at night when I'm done, right? When I'm done working, because when I start working at 11, I'm probably done working by, let's say, 5 or 6. I used to, back in the day, I could see myself getting more and more addicted to my phone, where I would be watching a movie, but having my phone, where I'm looking at something. What are you doing? Do you want ADD? Like, hello? So anyway, I stopped. We have a basket at the front. And I also ask friends if they're willing when they come in. I'm like, everybody, there's the iPhone or the phone basket. Feel free to unplug while you're in the country.
Gosh, those are so good. Thank you.
Good. So good. Okay, my question, and you kind of touched on it a little with those answers, but as the work we do at personal development, we're obsessed with it. We love it. We love reading, learning, consuming. How, as a therapist, and just you and your experience, do you balance the need to fix, to improve, to just being okay and not needing to change?
Well, it depends on how much you need to change, right? There were many, many years where I was always in an upward spiral of evolution because there was many things I needed to change. I was getting to core issues and childhood traumas and, 20s and 30s. That therapy work looks very particular. I think you need a balance. And the balance is, can I enjoy my life now? And that's putting down the perfectionism, right? It's not perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. But I put in an effort at every phase of my own development to enjoy my life. I have the same friends I've had since 1972, literally. I travel with my girlfriends. We do weekends. We have a text thread that we're always in. We've known each other's kids. They're now having grandkids. It's like I'm lit up by the relationships in my life. Sometimes those relationships have been dysfunctional or I've had to deal with that. So what do? I handle the shit when it comes up, but I also really put in the effort. I prioritize my relationships for sure. People will say to me, oh, you're so lucky. You have all these great friends. You have this great marriage. I'm like, trust me, bitch, that is not luck. That is intention. There was no luck. I intend to have beautiful relationships. I intend to be present. I go out of my way. My friend's father died. I would do the 7-hour round trip to go to South Jersey to be there. Is it convenient? No. But do I love her enough to do it? Of course I do. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of people are not willing to sort of do what it takes. And those relationships bring me so much joy. Just like my dog brings me so much joy, just like Vic and my kids and my grandkids,
It's so true. And like you said, what turns me on in my life, like having a mix of that. You're getting Brooke emotional over there. I'm usually the emotional one. That's such good advice.
I love it.
Last question, Terri. We asked you this before in a different way, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. We asked you before, like, what you would tell your younger self, and it brought me to tears last time. And so I want to shift it to future Terri. Thinking you're super old, you're putting your feet up, although you're probably still on your trampoline, but you're reflecting more on your life. You're looking back on all that you did and your relationships and your work and all of those things. What are you hoping to be most proud of that you did or accomplished or experienced in your life?
Honestly, that I helped as many people as possible lessen their own suffering and elevate their own joy.
Oh, that's what this book is all about. You're doing it. You were in it. You were doing that. You were living your purpose. It's so beautiful. You are giving our listeners the permission. Man, I'm getting emotional too. Like, having you a part of our platform is so beautiful and such an honor. The way that you speak, Terri, the way that you write, like, you are living your purpose, exactly what you just said. And I'm just so grateful that we can read it. We can hear it. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. You've helped our lives tremendously. It is my favorite episode that we've ever done. Is episode 86.
Well, up until this one.
I was going to say, and then you have this one. And you guys, you have to join my community. If you are not in, terricole.com/TCM. It is inexpensive, and I meet weekly with my crew and do live Q&As. And we record it if you can't come. So you guys listening, if you like this, if you could use a little of that mentorship, that caring on a weekly basis, terricole.com/TCM. How fun would it be to see your faces every week? I would love it.
We'd have a damn good time. And everyone listening too, we will put that link in the show notes right below. Quick click, easy peasy. Oh, Terri, again, thank you so much. Last but not least, we leave our listeners with a piece of gold, a quote. Would you please send us off with your quote?
I think we have to decide in life if we want to be a part of the problem or a part of the solution.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us. Additionally, we want to remind you that this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.